People rush wine drinking. They open a bottle of wine and they drink it as if it's something that if they don't get the liquid in their stomachs, quick enough, they might expire. It's not a vitamin, even though it's very good for you, potentially, depending on the wine, etc., and how much you consume. It's something that really just wants to tell a story. Every bottle of wine, if it's well made, if it's authentic, has a story to tell. And stories require time. It takes time for a story to be told from beginning to end. Wines have a story to tell, so if you rush them too quickly, it's like opening a book, reading the first page, closing it, and putting it down. You have no idea how it's going to end. And so we encourage people to take their time with their wines. Open the bottle, make sure you use a proper glass. You don't have to go crazy and buy all the Riedel glasses or the fancy Schatz Weissel Austrian Crystal, but make sure you have a decent glass, a good all-purpose glass, and a good all-purpose glass has a fairly big bowl, so there's lots of air, there's lots of space for the wine to kind of mingle with the air and allow the aromas and flavors to be released. And then one that sort of focuses the glass towards the top. So it's not a martini glass where all the aromas can escape, it's shaped like this, so when you put it to your nose, all the aromas are directed to your nose. So you get the maximum pleasure or the maximum exposure and experience to the wine. The other thing you can do is serve it at the proper temperature. People don't think about service temperature enough, and typically, if I was to make a blanket statement, I would say too many whites are served too cold. And if they come out of ice buckets or they come out of fridges, which are typically 3 degrees, they're sometimes too cold for their flavors and aromas to be perceived by the tongue. All of our sensory capabilities work at their utmost in a certain temperature range. So if you want to really enjoy the flavor of something, you don't serve it too hot so that it burns you, and you don't serve it too cold so that it's an ice cube and it just numbs your tongue. There's a happy medium, right? So serve your wines not quite as cold as you think they should be, unless they're sparkling, then go ahead and stick them in an ice bucket. And serve your reds a little cooler than you currently are. The red wine that you put in your mouth should feel a little cool on your tongue instantly. If it doesn't feel cool, if it feels warm or it feels the same as your body temperature, it's far too warm. That wine should be probably 18 to 20 degrees. And we're probably serving it closer to whatever the room temperature is. And on a day like today, for example, it could be 30 degrees sitting in your wine rack, especially if the sun is on it, and then it's probably 35 degrees. And that's ruining the wine. So nice glassware, patience, take your time, proper service temperature, and then, in order to allow the full story to be told, that's what we do as sommeliers. We move the wine around in that good glass. We taste it and we suck air through it. We make a lot of crazy noises. We close our eyes. We think about what's happening. And that's literally just us allowing our senses to enjoy the wine to its maximum, allowing that wine to speak to us. I mean, imagine for a minute that a taste of wine has 10 flavors in it, and you paid $10 for that wine. Wouldn't you want to enjoy all 10 of those flavors for the $10? If you put that wine in your mouth and swallow it, your body had time to process 3 or 4 of those flavors. You still spent $10 on that bottle, but you gave your body enough time to enjoy 4 or 5 of those flavors. There's 5 more that are waiting to come out that might make the wine the best $10 you've ever spent, and yet you don't give the wine time to tell that story. And so we really encourage people to sort of maximize that opportunity. And by moving the wine around, what you're doing basically is you're allowing all of the aroma in the wine to be able to come out of the glass and to go into your nose. And by moving the wine around in your mouth and slurping air through it, you're basically just saying, I want all the flavors to be extracted out of that wine. I want them to be able to go up into the little part of my brain that processes that information and send it to the pleasure centers of my brain or the memory centers of my brain. So when I'm smelling it and tasting it, not only am I getting some kind of pleasure, but I'm also able to put a name to it. I'm also able to say, that's right, I remember this wine smelling of raspberries, or I remember this wine smelling of memories of the barn that I used to hang out as a kid, and help my dad. Whatever. Things that just sort of make the wine that much more bigger, much grander and much more sort of spectacular than just a liquid. There's a real story to be told, and it can be extraordinarily powerful if you let it. And the greater the wine is, the greater that story is. Simple wines, simple inexpensive wines, will we'll hit you on a number of pleasure centers, and you'll sort of hopefully enjoy it for the price you paid. When you start to get into the truly grand wines of the world, and you allow them to age properly, you serve them with proper food, you serve them at the right temperature in good glasses, it's incredible. I mean, that wine over 3 hours can continue to tell you a different story over those 3 hours.
Make sure to visit 13thstreetwinery.com and join our newsletter. Watch more videos, download complete stories, tasting notes, accolades, and buzzworthy news, and to order your favorite wines.